Hello everyone, my name is Dom Hebblethwaite and I'm Head of Membership at the Chartered Institute of Linguists, CIOL. I'm delighted to welcome you all to our webinar, From Words to Law, Different Career Paths for Linguists. This is part of our commitment to supporting linguists interested in business, professions and government. Today, we're going to explore how language professionals can build careers in the legal sector. We're going to hear from two professionals, Marta Mendiondo and Karine Chevalier-Watts, who have successfully combined their language skills with legal work, each taking completely different career paths. Just to update everyone on the format for today's webinar, we're going to start with a brief introduction to our panelists and their backgrounds. We're then going to run a few polls, and then I'll be putting a series of questions to Marta and Karine about their experience and advice for linguists interested in entering the legal profession. Just before we begin, a little bit of housekeeping. In order to manage this session effectively, everybody's camera and microphone has been switched off. There is going to be time for a Q&A at the end, and all questions will be managed via the questions panel on GoToWebinar. So please go ahead and put your questions in on the GoTo questions panel, and we'll try and cover as many as we can. Okay, so without further ado, let's introduce you to our panelists for today's event. So first up, Marta Mendiondo. Marta has 18 years experience in immigration and nationality law, having previously worked as a visa and passport officer for the Foreign and Commonwealth Office and in British embassies in Moscow, Rome and Madrid. She now works in the private sector at RWK Goodman, assisting companies and individuals with a special focus on Spanish and Latin American clients. And Marta speaks Spanish and Italian. Marta, delighted to have you here with us. How are you today?
Very well, thank you. An excellent pronunciation of my name, by the way.
Thank you very much, Marta. Okay, so we're going to follow up with the structured language-based questions in just a moment, but can you just first tell us a little bit about your role as Head of Immigration at RWK Goodman?
Well, as the title indicates, I head the immigration practice in the firm, and we cover all UK nationality and visa spectrum except for asylum. We assist individuals and corporations in the visa needs in the UK. For individuals, we assist with their family applications, with the skilled worker applications, students. So everything immigration related, they can come to us as individuals. Obviously, companies who want to expand their operation in the UK and need to recruit foreign workers can also come to us, and we assist in obtaining licenses to sponsor workers, and then we assist those workers in applying for their visas all the way to nationality if they wish to become British eventually. So yeah, it's a very varied role. And we see a bit of everything.
Fantastic. Thank you very much for that. And so our second panelist will be very well known to many of you, Karine Chevalier-Watts. Karine is an MPhil, a chartered linguist and former chair of CIOL's translation division. She's bilingual, French and English, working as a paralegal in Stone King's international and cross-border teams. As a chartered and qualified translator, Karine provides in-house sworn legal translations of official documents and can provide us with some insights as somebody who has navigated the transition from a freelance translation work into in-house legal work using her languages. Karine, thank you very much for joining us. How are you today?
Thank you very much, Dom, and thank you so much for this wonderful introduction. I'm very well, thank you, and I'm absolutely delighted to be with you all and to be with Marta. It's a great honor. Thank you.
Fantastic. And so, Karine, do you want to explain, just give us a quick summary of your role at Stone King and the work you do?
Certainly. So I work as a paralegal and as a certified translator for the international cross-border team of Stone King solicitors in Bath. We've got 6 offices across the UK, and we cover all aspects of law. In my team specifically, we deal with international private law, and we specifically deal with international probate, estate planning, and with conveyancing. So we cover all jurisdictions in the world, but my main role is to cover the French-speaking jurisdictions. So that's obviously France, but it can also extend to Belgium, Switzerland, etc. So as a paralegal and as a fee earner, I support a team of solicitors. I perform a wide range of delegated legal and administrative tasks, which include drafting documents, writing letters, conducting legal research, communicating with our clients around the world, as well with foreign lawyers, and managing case files, although in our field we tend to refer to them as matters. And also as a translator, I provide certified translations of legal documents in French and English for the probate registry, tax office, and the courts. Thank you.
Fantastic. Okay, so thank you very much for that, Corinne. We now are going to have 3 quick polls so we can understand you, our audience, better, and hopefully guide the information we provide you with today. These polls are with Slido. And as you can see, there's 2 ways. You can either use your phone and scan the barcode, or you can go to slido.com and enter in the meeting number there. And we'll just hold this open for everybody. And fantastic. So yeah, we'll hold this open to give people time to get into Slido. And as we can see, the options, freelancers looking to move into the legal profession, student or early career, already working within the legal profession, legal background with language skills, or other. If you are one of the ones in other, do feel free to put in the questions facility what your situation is, and that would be very helpful for us as well. And we'll keep this open just another sort of 10 seconds or so. So we have somebody who's put in other, who says they've worked as a legal paralegal and hold legal qualifications and a degree in modern languages, and quite a long question here, which we'll cover as we come through. So thank you very much for that. So we have a majority of freelancers looking to move into the legal profession, a good number of students or early career linguists, and yeah, a nice mix. So thank you very much for that. We are going to move on to the second poll question. What is your main reason for attending today? So thank you very much for your participation. It's just very helpful for us to understand the audience. General curiosity about the legal profession winning out at the moment, exploring a career change into the legal profession, already in the legal field, wanting to hear others' experience, around about 14% or so at the moment, and 13% in the other. We'll hold this open just for another, let's say, 5 seconds. Okay, thank you very much for that. And something different for our final poll question. This is a word cloud. Please, if possible, just put 1 word if that works for your country. And it's nice to see where people are based, of course. And of course, different countries have different legal systems, common and civil law. So this is very helpful. So we've got a good chunk from the UK, as we would imagine. England, Scotland, Italy, Canada, South Africa, Hong Kong, France, Austria, Malaysia, Ireland, Greece, China, Portugal, Japan, fantastic, Peru, Ukraine, Sweden. This is the most exciting poll I'm finding. We'll hold this open just for another couple of seconds. I think we've got everybody. Austria, Netherlands, Latvia. Wonderful. Okay. Thank you very much for that. Oh, there's a couple more typing, so we'll hold it open. Japan, Bulgaria. Brilliant. Thank you very much for UAE, United Arab Emirates. Wonderful. Thank you, everyone. Okay. So let's move on to our discussion with after those interesting polls. Just as a reminder, you can put your questions in the GoToWebinar chat facility, which we'll cover at the end of this session. And so the first question, how did you learn the language or languages that you use in your current role? Marta, would you like to start? How did you learn your Spanish and Italian?
Well, I was born in Spain, so I'll focus on how I learned English and Italian instead. Okay. Obviously, Spanish came as a natural learning process. So English was basically everyone's second language at school, but it's very different to the way kids are learning it these days, because it was a lot more structured, and we had not been exposed to it until the age of 10, 11 in my case, when it was formally introduced as a another subject at school with 2 or 3 hours per week. So there was no exposure, there was no interaction, unlike today with everyone watching Netflix in original version, etc., or the internet. I know it makes me sound quite old, but it's the truth. So yeah, basically I learned it at school, and then I was obviously interested. I was keen on it, so I was taking some extra lessons, and then I think what made me better at it and have a more keen interest was the fact that I wasn't shy, and in this summer camps I was going to, I wanted to communicate. It was as simple as that. I didn't want to be quiet and bored, and so how to best communicate with someone other than trying and learning and keeping your ears open, picking up accents and trying to make yourself understood. So so yeah, a lot of practice, and I have to say one of the keys to learning English for me was boredom. I was much younger than my siblings, so I was at home and I used to watch MTV a lot. And I used to listen to a lot of music and learn lyrics by heart. So that helped a lot. I wasn't conscious that I was learning a language. I just wanted to sing my favorite songs, and sometimes those structures and that vocabulary stuck in my brain, and then it just happened very naturally. And finally, I'd say something that helped a lot, even though I wasn't aware of it, was learning my own language's grammar. Knowing Spanish grammar, even though I found it quite boring at school, but you were learning, and then you made those connections with the other languages you were learning, because there's a lot more that unites languages than people might perceive at when you first start studying it, and things start to make sense when you know the grammar from your own native language, and you can translate it into other languages and see how things work, even when they don't work similarly. Then you can see the differences, and it kind of makes sense in your mind.
Fantastic, thank you, Marta. And How about you, Corinne? You're obviously bilingual in French and English. What is your sort of language learning background?
So just to say that for my current role, I use English and French as my daily languages, and French being my native tongue, as you probably guessed from my accent, and English my first foreign language. I learned English at school in France, and I joined Marta on her interest in English thanks to pop music. I've got a big brother who initiated me quite early on to the albums of Elton John, Pink Floyd, the Beatles, Rolling Stones, and used to play them a lot. And then I felt frustrated. I couldn't understand the lyrics. So whenever I would ask my brother, what are they saying? And he said, well, I don't know. I don't understand. So, and I found it very, very frustrating. So from the age of 6, 7 years old, I was even pretending that I was talking gibberish to myself, pretending that I was speaking English. And I couldn't wait to start school to formally learn English. And I later on discovered David Bowie, and that was my absolute passion. And I started collecting his albums and learning English through his lyrics. I went on to, I decided from the age of 12 that I would become an English teacher because I was so interested in Anglo-Saxon culture and the language. So I learned. So after my levels, I did a BA in modern languages at the University of Aix-en-Provence with English and Spanish as a second language and Russian as my core subjects. And I went on to do after my degree. I spent a year as a French language assistant in a high school in Dorset. And when I came back from my year as an assistant, I did a 2-year vocational training in France to prepare for the CAPES, which is a national competitive exam leading to a certificate of aptitude for teaching in secondary education. I stayed in France for 4 years after my competitive exam to teach French and English in secondary state schools in France. And then I moved to England, where I met my husband, and I studied for an RSA, Royal Society of Arts diploma in business studies, with French as a foreign language and legal text processing as an optional module. So after this, I put this knowledge into practice by first becoming a legal secretary at a local firm of solicitors for a while, and then I went to work in business for 10 years in import-export industries, putting my languages to use.
Brilliant. Thank you very much for that. Okay, so our second question is, what led you to work in the legal field? Shall we reverse orders this time and go Corinne this time and ask you, obviously your background as a translator, but what drew you into legal work?
So looking back, I suppose that I was always destined to work in the legal field at some point, because my grandfather was a magistrate, my mother had a doctorate in law, and one of my cousins is a solicitor. But I think that early on I wanted to buck the trend, and at that point, and given the choice of law or languages, I opted for languages. But deep down, I thought that at some point I would end up in the legal field. So, however, it was really just after the Brexit referendum that as a freelance translator, I started receiving lots of requests of certified translations of official documents needed by both the French and British authorities for immigration and naturalization purposes. So aside from the standard civil status certificates like birth certificates, etc., I was asked to translate more complex documents, such as employment contracts and conveyancing documents required for immigration purposes. Then during the COVID-19 pandemic, with people sadly dying with assets in multiple jurisdictions, I started receiving many requests for certified translations of wills and estate administration documents, such as death certificates, warrants of probate, powers of attorney. And soon enough, my client base naturally shifted from multinational retail and travel companies, which had been quite affected by Brexit and COVID, to law firms offering international private legal services. The Stone King International and Cross-Border team was one of my most regular clients, sending me various legal documents to translate from English into French and vice versa. So over the years, we built a strong collaboration as I was dealing so closely and frequently with their solicitors specialized in international and cross-border estate planning, probate and conveyancing matters. And when I found out in the summer of 2024 via a LinkedIn post that they were looking for a bilingual French-English paralegal to join their team in the Bath office, which is quite close to me, I applied, and I was delighted to be offered the position. And I have now been working here since September 2024.
Fantastic, thank you, Corinne. And Marta, your path, you started working in embassies. So how did that lead to working in immigration law?
Well, it's funny, and for disclosure, I'll say that when I was younger, my sister was studying a law degree, and because we're quite similar,
Right.
lots of people asked me whether I was going to be a lawyer when I grew up, and of course I said no, never. it was something I was very clear on. Maybe not because I disliked law, but because I just wanted to be my own self and not be compared to my sister all the time.
Yeah.
Funnily enough, I ended up working as a lawyer and she didn't. So, yeah, my path to the legal field, a bit like English, even though I had an interest in English before I met my husband. I think my path in my professional career and the use of languages have been very defined by love, by meeting my husband at a young age and you know, being a trailing spouse, as they call it, in the Foreign Office. So my husband works for the Foreign Office and I was the plus one, and we were sent to embassies overseas. And obviously being young and ready to work, well, you try to work in whatever is available. It's not easy in many jurisdictions because you need to know the local language. But in our case, we did apply as our first embassy abroad to the one in Madrid, the British Embassy in Madrid. And obviously that helped a lot. Obviously, I was working there because I could speak both languages. And then in all subsequent embassies in Rome and Moscow, it was the natural progression to work in consular services, nationality, visas, etc. And in the case of Rome, Italian came helpful because I was using it for consular assistance, but the role itself didn't really require a lot of Italian or Russian. When we were in Moscow, it was very much it was helpful, but you could work in English all the time. So yeah, that's how I ended up working in the legal sector, because I was building up all this experience in immigration, in nationality, in visas. And when we came back to the UK in 2013, it made more sense to continue down that route for a private firm. So I joined a small firm, regulated by the Office of the Immigration Service Commissioner, the OISC, which was the regulator for small consultancies, or not small, but for consultancies which are allowed to give immigration advice. This was a small firm which was set up and run by former Foreign Office and Home Office staff. So obviously I found a home very quickly there. Mm-hmm. And then this firm was bought by a law firm who wanted to incorporate an established practice, wanted to move the whole team as a department and provide these services to their clients. And from the OISC, then we were regulated by the Solicitors Regulatory Authority, just as a normal law firm. And I've continued to work for law firms under different denominations, but it's been 2 firms. And at my current one, I've been since September 2023, and yeah, it's kind of a natural progression. I'm mixing my personal story with my forte in terms of my background working for the Foreign Office and the Home Office.
Nice, thank you. Okay, so we move on to our third question. The ways you use your language skills in your current role, and let's reverse it again. Just Marta, do you want to explain how you are using your language day to day in your role?
Well, as I said in my previous roles, when I was working for the embassies, this language skills could come as a helpful addition, but most of my colleagues were British and didn't speak any other languages. We had local assistants to do translating if need be, but it was helpful, but it wasn't a unique selling point. In fact, I was working in English, I'd say 90% of the time. That all changed unexpectedly, really, when we came back to the UK. I thought I was going to continue working in English most of the time. What I didn't appreciate it was the exposure to the Latin American market that we had back in my first firm. And I had a lot of clients from Latin America, particularly from Venezuela and Colombia. So I used my Spanish all the time. So I was advising in Spanish and I was working in English. So obviously I was the bridge between the client and speaking to me in the native language. Sometimes, not all of them, but a big chunk of them were Spanish speaking. And then actually preparing the application and presenting the cases to the Home Office in English. So whether you are advising in the native language or whether you are translating things presented to you in Spanish, or whether you are working with English, for me, a second language, to submit these cases to the Home Office, that's how I use my language skills. Obviously, there's a bigger part of my role that is business development. So being able to go out there and present to clients in their native languages and being able to become the trusted advisor in the native language goes a long way. It's quite stressful to deal with the Home Office, and because it has a very personal side to your application, as Karine probably knows, because of probate and conveyancing, there are very strong personal elements in the nature of our work. So sure. Being able to make sure that your client is understanding you, that they get the message in the native language goes a long way. And also that you're not giving a masterclass in law, but you are also translating things to make them understandable. The immigration rules are particularly complex and not easy to understand even for native speakers. So making sure that not only it is translated, but it is put to them in a way they can understand. And that's where the language is fantastic, but also knowing the culture of the person you're talking to is great. When people come to you and want to explain their background, what happens in their countries, their reasons why they want to move to the UK, even if it's just personal reasons, but sometimes it's the political or the economical circumstances in their country of origin. It's important that you connect with them in their language, but also knowing what they're trying to explain to you, and that you are aware of the cultural backgrounds. So that goes a long way. And I also use languages for not just for presenting or for and drafting, but as I said, I also use in a way psychology to support clients, because it's not fun to be in an immigration road where everything is being thrown at you and it's expensive, it's stressful. So I try to put myself in their shoes. I'm a migrant myself, so I know where they're coming from. And I also have to finally, one thing I do a lot is not just to translate, but adapt the drafting style. As a native Spanish speaker, we use long phrases, we use passive tense, we are very descriptive in our language. English is a much more direct language. I have to put up my English thinking cap on so I can draft something and then I go back to it and make sure that everything is shorter, more direct. So I have to fight against my instincts as well. So yeah, it keeps us on our toes, and because it's an emotional plea sometimes that you make into the home office, and you start drafting and you get carried away by your emotions, and then you have to go back and you have to redraft your legal argument from a more English point of view, more British in a way, and not just in the way you draft, but in the way you come across, and try to tone down, you know, the emotions and the style. Really, it's very mixed. It changes a lot from when I'm talking to someone, when I'm advising that person, to when I'm drafting to present a legal case to UK visas and immigration.
Sure. Thank you very much for that. And so Karina, how about you? You're doing paralegal work, in-house translations. How does this all work in practice for you?
So since 50% of our team's work involves dealing with estate planning, wills, probates, and conveyancing matters in the 2 jurisdictions of the UK and France, and occasionally Belgium, Switzerland, and Luxembourg, solicitors regularly deal with French-speaking notaires, lawyers, banks, and other official organizations, as well as clients from these jurisdictions. And as part of my paralegal role, I assist our solicitors by liaising by email, letter, or phone with those individuals in their native language, because some of them don't speak English or not well enough to be able to discuss legal matters. As a certified French-English translator, chartered linguist, and a proud CIOL member, and also recognized by the French consulate in London, I provide in-house translations as part of probate matters. For instance, I translate wills, statements of truth, affidavits, powers of attorney, articles of association for our charities or for businesses, documents required by the probate registry or by the French or UK tax offices, court orders, as well as conveyancing documents such as property, sale, purchase, contracts, etc. Sometimes I'm requested to attend Teams meetings and interpret in French English between one of our English-speaking solicitors and a French notaire or lawyer who doesn't speak very good English. I also use my language skills to write articles dealing with a specific UK and French legal issues for publications aimed at the British expat community, such as French Entree or Property News. I also research French governmental websites to keep up with new legislation that could directly affect our clients in terms of tax efficiency matters, etc. I write material for our company's website and on our LinkedIn page to highlight our international and cross-border work. I proofread wills, statements, documents drafted by our solicitors before they are sent out to clients or for publication. I also proofread marketing material such as conveyancing brochures and press articles written by our solicitors before they are sent out. And these are in English. Last but not least, I attend shows such as the French Property Show that is coming up in London, in Hammersmith, on the 24th and 25th of January, where I meet both French people and English people, and we talk to them about what the services that we offer for them in terms of estate planning and conveyancing purposes. I also take some matters under my own belt. For instance, I assist clients who have British clients who had properties in France and bank accounts in France, and because of life circumstances, they decided to go back to the UK, and they're finding it difficult sometimes to close their bank accounts and transfer the balances to their British accounts, and that's why they asked me to help them. So it's more of an administrative kind of rule than purely legal. But because of language barrier, they sometimes find it very difficult to talk to their banks. And so I'm the point of contact, and I liaise between the clients and their banks, and explain as best as I can, with my knowledge of French cultural matters, and I obtain satisfaction and the closure of their bank accounts and transfer of their money when, after years of trying themselves, they haven't been able to. So that adds a lot of value to the services that we can offer thanks to my linguistic services.
Fantastic, thank you. Okay, we've talked about how you use your languages yourselves in your role, but from your experience, how do others, colleagues, clients, competitors use languages in the legal profession? And why don't we flip again and go to you, Corinne, first for this one?
Okay, so I'm going to cheat slightly on this one, because I haven't been in the law field for very long in my capacity as paralegal at Stone King. So I thought I would ask a more experienced team member. And so before the webinar, I asked him directly. So my colleague Mazen, who is a trainee solicitor in my team, he studied English, Dutch, German, French, as well as classical Latin and Greek at secondary school. And he studied law at university. So I asked him the same question, and this is what he replied. So I'm quoting: languages are an invaluable tool to communicate with people from other countries and to try to build rapport. A close understanding of the style of a language of a particular people also helps us understand their culture and approach to matters, which can be used to communicate more smoothly. However, these are only the direct benefits of studying languages. The indirect effects of languages are far greater. Learning languages that are grammatically more complex helps people improve their analytical skills, given that the language is, after education, no longer an automatized and native tool that can be used for communicating, but rather different forms like verbs, nouns, prepositions, and adjectives and adverbs, etc., each of which can occupy different places and have varying functions in a sentence, or which have different styles. This can be used directly when writing a legal document and making sure that it is grammatically correct by, for example, checking the grammar of a more modern language, such as English, by referring to the forms and words in an older and more grammatically complex language in the same language family, such as German. Classical languages, even if they fall outside of the language family of the language one, in writing can help one gain a thorough understanding of how to analyze each word in a sentence. A further indirect benefit of languages is that one gets used to inquiring what the function is of each principle and word in law, so that they can extrapolate the legal and natural meanings of the words and principles that are being used. Language skills and the skills derived from languages are therefore used throughout the day when carrying out legal work. And to this, I would personally add that in the same way as it is crucial for a solicitor to, say, be able to draw up a will that accurately, faithfully, completely reflects the wishes of their clients, it is equally essential for a translator to clearly convey these same wishes into another language, respecting the tone and the terminology and taking into account different legal systems. And so in conclusion, I would say that I feel that both lawyers and linguists have got a lot in common, as they are acutely aware of the importance of words in their work. Thank you.
Fantastic, thanks, Corinne, and thanks to your colleague as well. Marta, the same question for you. How else do you see others using languages within the legal profession?
Well, I didn't do that much preparation, so I take my hat off to Corinne. It's fantastic words by her colleague and by her. Also, I second everything she said today, not just about how we use languages, but also about the nature of the work. Sometimes we find ourselves helping colleagues and interpreting and translating, and so it is a multi-hatted job. Once you know languages, a lot of doors are open, and we inevitably our work becomes very varied. But yeah, in terms of of how colleagues and competitors use languages, the way I see it is fantastic to open markets, and as I said, it's a unique selling point when you can not only speak your client's language, but also you know, walk in their shoes, tell them what to expect. In a way, this aligns with being a migrant myself, and having been through the process that I am assisting them with. Also having worked for the Home Office and seeing how they think, how they're trained. So it's a bit, it's a unique selling point. But languages, the way I see them used by my colleagues is by attending events at chambers of commerce, at opening these new markets, by drafting articles, by liaising with foreign firms who want to establish relationships in the UK, cross referrals. We're not experts on everything in the world. We need to have other firms in different jurisdictions. So obviously, if we can communicate in their language and we can refer clients, depending on if they need work done in, say, for instance, in France, we send them to these legal firms, but equally they will need French clients or French-based clients who need assistance with the British matters, so they will send them to us. So the way I see it is we all draft these articles in foreign languages. We speak to media people, so we can raise topics that are of interest to their potential audiences in their original languages. Obviously, post-Brexit, we're looking at a much more complex, much more regulated market. So legal services are really important, and obviously speaking those languages, being able to be precise in your translations, as Karim was saying, is key, because now we don't have a common market. Everything is susceptible to being different in all 27, 28 countries from the European Union, etc. I see my colleagues using languages, maybe not as much as I do. As I said, I have a very established Spanish and Latin American practice. So I cannot really speak for my colleagues other than what I see in the office and them using the languages at meetings. But from my experience, the way Spanish, Italian, a little bit of Russian have been very useful, has been by attending a lot of events organized by chambers, by embassies, sector-specific events. It's difficult to be very precise, because you have to keep your eyes open to any opportunity that may come up, because, as I said, I have a role which is not just legal but also BD. I need to bring clients in, and obviously attending a lot of events is key. If you can then have a glass of wine and have a chat in the person's native language, that is going to be a great selling point.
Fantastic. I love that. Thank you very much. So we now move to our last set question, and the big key question here: tips you can give to our audience, linguists interested in moving into the legal profession. Let's reverse it again, the order, and go back to you, Marta. And what advice can you give to somebody wanting to follow a path like yours?
I think I won't be saying anything too surprising here, but in terms of languages, not only you need to keep your eyes open and your ears peeled to learn it, but also to see what opportunities may bring you. In my case, as I said, I didn't realize how my languages were going to impact my professional career. I actually trained to be a journalist, and I thought I was just going to be using Spanish. I loved English, but I never thought it was going to be a professional career for me, either the legal career or using languages at work. So if I can give one practical tip to the audience is do not rule out anything, because life happens, as John Lennon said, while you're busy making other plans. Is identifying the opportunities out there. In my case, it all started by being a trailing spouse, working for an embassy, obviously in an international environment. Every member of the audience today will have an interest, will have a second language, or will be looking at the UK from other countries. So obviously there is an international element amongst all of us. So I would say, as an example, working in immigration is a natural place for linguists, because yes, I do have American clients, Canadian clients, English-speaking clients, but the world is a big place. It's a lot of languages out there. There's a lot of foreign individuals needing immigration advice in the UK. So one way I would suggest that people can get into the legal profession is via immigration exposure. I started working for a firm which was, as I said, regulated by the OISC. Is now called the IAA, the Immigration Advice Authority. This authority is the regulator for exams, to be able to take this exam and be an advisor in the legal world. The firms who are regulated by the IAA are recruiting on a regular basis, and one of the key things they ask for is languages. It's a tough job. You have to keep up with changes, with the rules, with the Home Office changing their minds every 2 seconds and wanting to appease the public and the voters. It's a tough job, but it's very, very rewarding. You're helping people. If you're into languages, you probably want to build bridges with your connections. You want to speak to individuals. You want to put yourself out there to make a difference, to help. Languages help us communicate. When we communicate, we can help people who are in difficult situations. So to me, looking at immigration is a natural place to start. It is a bit tricky because you need to build up your knowledge while working under supervision before you can take the exam. But you can start by helping out, it's like NGOs, charities, people who have clients who are helping out, giving pro bono advice, and they always need volunteers. So that's a good way to start. And you're going to be exposed to not only languages, but cultures, lives, and some horror histories or stories in some cases, but others very rewarding and very things that make you grow as a person.
Fantastic. Okay, well, thanks very much, Marta. And Karina, how about you? Obviously, you've fairly recently transitioned into in-house legal work. What tips can you give to our audience?
So I would say that first of all, I would aim at obtaining linguistic mastery in both your source and target language, and develop excellent writing skills and document presentation formatting skills, because it's vital that in a legal document there are no spelling, no grammatical punctuation errors, and that you use a formal register. I would also advise to develop an eagle eye attention to detail and meticulously review all documents to ensure every nuance is accurately translated if you're translating a legal document, adhering to specific legal formatting and structural guidelines. And for instance, I would advise you to take a legal text processing course from either your local college, as I did, or from Pitman Training. It's pitman-training.com. It's a legal text processing course that has been created by SALEX, the Chartered Institute of Legal Executives, for those of you seeking to start your career in a legal office as a legal secretary, legal assistant, or as a paralegal. Then I would say to acquire some legal expertise and to develop a solid understanding of the legal systems and concepts of both your source and target languages. Legal concepts vary significantly across jurisdictions, and an error could have serious consequences. Knowing the differences between different legal systems around the world, for instance, the civil law system, which is common in France, Germany, and most of Europe, compared to the common law system that stems from the English legal tradition and that you can find in the UK, the USA, Canada, except Quebec, Australia and India, and religious law used in many Islamic countries, such as Saudi Arabia and Iran, and mixed hybrid systems such as South Africa, Israel, Louisiana in the US, and Quebec in Canada. I would also say to cultivate strong research abilities to verify legal terms and concepts and case law using reliable legal resources in both languages, such as using Westlaw, LexisNexis, etc. And free of charge and widely available is looking up at the official journal of the European Union website, which is available in different languages for relevant terminology. For instance, reading the regulation EU number 650/2012 of the European Parliament and of the Council of 4th of July 2012 on jurisdiction applicable law is really useful. Learning the equivalent of or near equivalent names of institutions in the countries of your native language and the UK. For instance, for those of you who speak French, the French equivalent of a court of protection is not cour de protection, but le juge des contentieux de la protection. And formerly that was le juge des tutelles. And similarly, some English terms such as trustees or trust in a will or solicitors do not have strict equivalent in French, as they belong to a different legal system, so they may require some explanations. I would also advise you to invest in some resources, such as the Council of Europe French-English Legal Dictionary that is available from the Council of Europe's website, but I'm sure that is also available in other languages, and various dictionaries. And if you contact me directly, I could recommend you some. I would also say to obtain specialized training by enrolling on courses, workshops, or postgraduate programs that focus specifically on legal translation, terminology, and ethics. And I also recommend taking the STEP certificate in Trust and Estates, England and Wales, which is really useful because it explains very clearly the jurisdiction, the law of the jurisdiction of England and Wales, which is very, very useful as a basis. I would also say to obtain accreditation from a recognized professional body, such as obviously the Chartered Institute of Linguists. And bear in mind that the CIOL offers the Diploma in Translation, DipTrans. I would advise you to, when preparing for it, if you're preparing for it, to choose the law option. And seeking certified or sworn translator status. In some countries, you may need to become a sworn translator, as in France, or in Spain, or I believe Germany too, by passing a government exam and taking an oath in court, which legally authorizes you to certify translations. It's also the rule in Poland. And to build a portfolio, start by working with smaller clients or translation agencies is to build a portfolio of experience with various legal documents, such as civil status documents like birth certificates, marriage certificates, etc., and gradually moving on to more complex ones such as wills, contracts, patents, and court documents. Seek out internships with agencies or law firms to gain practical real-world experience. And do not neglect networking. Join professional associations like CIOL to network with other professionals and find job opportunities, access professional development resources, as well as local business networking events where there are often solicitors representing their law firms. Check out LinkedIn, look at the websites of local law firms near you to check out their vacancies, and you could maybe look out for a role as a receptionist to begin with, or personal assistant, and then gradually move up the ladder. And last but not least, I would advise to remember to uphold strict ethical standards and maintain confidentiality when handling sensitive legal documents. And this includes ensuring high IT protection systems if you're using your own personal computer when dealing with the legal documents, and being very careful how you store your legal documents. Sign up with the ICO, which is the Information Commissioner's Office, if you haven't already done so. And finally, obtain professional indemnity insurance that includes legal translations. Mine is with Trafalgar, that is affiliated with CIOL, that offers discounts, and I always ask for the law option to be covered. It's a bit more expensive, but it's really worth it. Thank you.
Fantastic, thank you. So many practical points there. So we may follow up with a sort of little blog on that with some of those tips as well. So that's great. So we're almost out of time. It's been a fascinating discussion. We've got lots of questions coming in, and I'm afraid we're not going to be able to address them all. But we'll maybe try and just do just sort of looking around. So some of these questions have been nicely answered by you, but a specific question about the IAA exam you mentioned, Marta, and then there's various other questions about qualifications, how useful law degree is, other qualifications that people do they need or should they seek. So yeah, what would you say in terms of the whole sort of law degree and qualifications? How important is it?
Is that for me or?
Let's start with you, Mark. Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I don't have a degree in law.
Okay.
So it's because the IAA allows you to practice based on your practical knowledge. Obviously, coming from the Home Office, I'm starting to work under my colleague's supervision meant that I was proficient in the topics from the exam. Obviously, there are ways to train for that exam as well, and then I took it, I passed it, and I could use it. And in this particular job, it's key that your knowledge is up to date. So it's all about the immigration rules. It's a law degree, of course, is super helpful, but clearly is not the beginning or the end journey here. It's all about knowing what you're doing on a practical level, and that's why working under someone else's supervision is key when you first start. I was very lucky to be trained by the Home Office, so obviously I knew it from the source of all knowledge, and then I took that into the private sector. But yeah, the IAA is the normal way to become a regulated advisor. And if you work for an IAA firm, if you work for a law firm, then obviously, as Karine said, the usual path is the norm, the law degree, and obviously qualifying as a solicitor. So that you can start as a paralegal, of course, but that would be the normal path for my colleagues.
Fantastic. And Karine, we are kind of out of time, but if you just have, do you have anything more to add on the sort of whole qualifications question?
Yeah, like Marta, I don't have a law degree. I think it's more important for people who are aiming to become solicitors, which is not my case, but I've chosen to embrace the career of career paralegal. And like Marta, I am able to deal with legal matters, but under the close supervision of a qualified solicitor and our team leader. And the firm actually provides CPD, ongoing CPD all the time for qualified solicitors and everybody else. So there's lots of opportunities of watching webinars and signing up to courses. And so it's a lot of on-the-job training, which is really important. So I wouldn't say that you have to have a law degree to be able to work in the legal sector.
I'd say it's one of those things where you're going to build up your knowledge on the job. As Karine said, it's very important to get yourself in a law firm or a regulated firm, and then be prepared to work yourself up. It's not going to be handed to you by having a degree. You're going to it's an ongoing learning exercise, like languages.
Fantastic. Well, thank you very much for that. So we are out of time, I'm afraid. It's been a fascinating discussion that we could have carried on for much longer, I'm sure. But thank you all for attending. By the way, we also had people from Jordan, Nigeria, former Czechoslovakia, other people who weren't able to add their countries on Slido. But thank you for attending this fascinating discussion about career paths for linguists in the legal profession. All attendees will receive a certificate and a link to the recording within the next few working days. If you're a CIOL member, you can log this webinar on MyCPD. We must all thank our panelists, Marta and Karine, for their valuable contributions, helping us to understand about working with languages in the legal sector. We really got an insight into how how this is possible in different ways that to achieve this. So that's absolutely wonderful. If you would like to get in touch with our panelists, as you can see, their contact details are on screen. I would also like to thank Sahela at CIOL, who's been working away in the background, helping to make sure that this event runs smoothly for us all. And I'd also like to thank Eleonora Di Benedetto, who actually came up with the idea for this event for the business professions and government area, and thank her for all her efforts in putting this together. So we hope this discussion has provided you with some food for thought, whether you're an established language professional looking to diversify early in your career or exploring different paths to use your languages to get into the legal profession. So thank you once again to Marta. Thank you once again to Karine. Thank you to all of you for listening. Thank you and goodbye.
Bye, everyone.